What's cracks, bud?
How much, man, yourself?
Shut up. What would I be at?
Topicopicus, hoppopotamus, cockabalotopus, demons.
Yeah, so crits.
What are you doing to me? You have me doing this fucking demonic fucking step aerobics, man. I feel like a fucking bored housewife who's like fucking summoning. What the fuck have you done? What is going on?
I just said that you wanted to do the Star Ruby for 30 days. I don't know what you're doing that's turning you into a housewife doing demonic incantations.
Doing all these.
Did you get the right PDF?
I don't know what the fuck I got.
You're like the shaken back woman. You put the demons back, you know.
Better tell people what this is.
So the Star Ruby is a Thelemic banishing ritual. That is meant to be, as Crowley says, an updated version of the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. And
why are we doing this, Tommy?
Well, we're doing it ostensibly for the crack to see what'll happen. No, we're doing it because I personally wanted to do it, do something like that. Because I kind of felt that my magic, I suppose, practice or my praxis was kind of wilting a bit, and it was more kind of conscious based, or a bit. Let me see. All just meditation and shadow work and stuff like that, and there wasn't actually any. When's the last time I did a sigil? Well, I did one last week, but before there wasn't something that I'm doing on an ongoing. Because it'd be nice to do some sort of practical day-to-day magic, and why not do something that I kind of have an aversion to, because do the thing rather than do a sigil a day or something that I kind of would naturally gravitate to. Do something that I try and get into an area that I wouldn't normally have put myself in, and because I've had kind of weird experiences.
Slippery slope, man.
It is, isn't it?
Slippery slope.
Magic is designed for.
Next thing we're 69 in each other. The wives are.
Yeah,
John D in this shit.
Yeah, Jason Love's writing a book about us. Yeah, so it's like, because I had such a previously when I did the Lesser Banishing Ritual of the Pentagram, I was kind of following Don Michael Craig's book around that time, which is the 12 Steps book. What's it called? It should be there. Modern Magic. And part of that, so do this every day, and it was to build up to do this, and then you do a middle pillar, and then you eventually upgrade to the hexagram ritual and all that. And I was just doing the banishing ritual, the lesser banishing ritual with pentagram, and there's so many opinions about that, as you may have noticed in your investigations. From that, it's originally it was an invoking ritual by the Golden Dawn. It didn't have the banishing in the title. It was the lesser ritual of the pentagram. To people fixing it, to say there's some blinds in it, that the elements are different, to people not liking the archangel names, blah 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 blah. So anyway, what I found, it was a bit like chemotherapy, in that it just blanketly removed everything. At least that's how it felt at the time. I suppose there's an awful lot of stuff that got removed that I would have felt was good at the time, that looking back, of course, I can see, well, that was also part of the stuff that needed to be moved along. But with the caveat in that is that looking back, everything seems to make more sense, because that's what's the thing that happened, and you kind of have to make sense of it. I wouldn't be here because if that didn't happen. Yes, that's the point. It doesn't mean here is exactly the best place for you either. It's just that's the kind of train of thing. Anyway, that's a different topic. So it says, right, so I always kind of have a thing that I think banishing rituals they're definitely overplayed in occult circles. They're definitely there's a lot of fear around them, and there's a lot of nonsense around them. So he goes, why not attack that, do a 30-day challenge? And, because it's the thing I always say to people, well, what would happen if I did this? And I go, well, do it, see what happens, take some notes. And if it works, do more of it. If it doesn't, change it or move on. So that's kind of it. So rather than the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, I thought the Star Ruby would be better if other people are going to get involved, because it just kind of takes away all that notion of, I don't like the archangels, I don't like Christianity, which is absolutely 100% understandable for people, and just put it in, something else. While I have done my own version of it, which is the Roman pentagram ritual, but I thought Crowley would be a better one, because there's a bit more inertia behind it. That's right, the correct word. There's a bit more movement behind it. There's a bit more, than here's a ritual I made up. Because when I was reading Rufus or Rodney Orpheus's book, and he's going, well, here's a book, and how to be a Telemite, and here's the first ritual is one I made up. Go, no, I don't want your ritual.
Yeah,
mate.
I get you. Yeah.
Let's do an actual ritual.
Yeah, it's better. Like it's like when you're in school. Like you have to learn Shakespeare so that when you go to write something, you can break all the rules, kind of thing. Because he broke all the rules, kind of thing. You have to know. You need to know the material before you can make up your own.
But I suppose that more than that, it was just because if the object is to do a kind of a ceremonial magic, then do a ceremonial magic. Whereas if I make it up myself, that's still kind of chaos magic. That's still, doing your own kind of thing. It's like do something prescribed in a book by someone who knew something exactly as it's meant to be done.
Allegedly.
He said he knew something. Whether what he knew was, I suppose, it's debatable.
My difficulty with it is I'm not doing the Greek thing because what's the point? I don't speak any Greek, so for me, doing that is a layer of nonsense that's not needed. All right.
Yeah.
Now go ahead, work whatever you want. If you think it adds something to it, it adds something to it. But like, when I'm talking to Minerva, I don't speak in Latin or Italian. Obviously I can because I'm so talented and amazing. All the language. I don't even speak my own Greek. Fucking language, Irish. 10, 11 years in Poland, and my level of Polish is like taxi driver conversation, But anyway, so I found an English one, and it wasn't very good. But I yesterday found a better English one, and it even does the last part when it has the something in front of me, something behind me. That's been updated into it's something like the spells in front of me. I don't remember what it is now. I'll link it later. All right, when I listen back. It's good. Instead of saying these words that are like abstract and have no.
Well, they're not abstract though. You just translate it and you know what it is.
They're to me. You get me?
Right? No, they're fine. Yeah, but it's not abstract. It's that's saying something it isn't. It's not abstract. It's like it's 100% translatable. Like it makes sense. It's not like barbarous names which there's no actual understanding of it. Like if you know what I mean. In say something like the headless ritual has a whole kind of a chant which is names of something, but there's no translation of it. This is just in Greek. It's not that it's abstract.
No. I'm not really talking about the Greek part of it. What I mean is that so before me Lunga is behind me Teletarchi. Yeah. So what the fuck is that like? Do you know?
Well, if you read my post on Adventure in the Movie, you would see what all that is, because I went through all those things are.
Yeah, but it's too many layers for me, man. You're just going.
Right. But again, it's my point is that's fine. What I'm saying, it's not abstract. They're actual things. Like the Youngis are things from the Chaldean oracles, which are a well-known thing. Like it's not something he made up.
Totally well done, like well known.
Like just because you don't know them doesn't mean it's not well known.
Well, obviously, no. But I mean, but this person has gone and they've said, before me the spells, behind me the mysteries, on my right constraints, on my left spirits. That speaks far easier to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's fine. No, my objection was only with the abstraction thing. That's it. Not that.
And then
you
there's the whole
thing.
like the PDFs that were shared on the Discord stuff had this NOx thing, the Night of Pan.
Yeah.
But nowhere was it explained what Night of Pan is. So you need to go look up the Night of Pan and visualize what that is going on when you're doing that bit. You get me?
Well, no, you're doing the Nox signs. That's it. You're not doing the Night of Pan. The Night of Pan's a completely
but the
different
Nox signs weren't explained anywhere. So it's like, okay, so now I got to look this up. I'm going to learn all this. And there's just a lot of... what I don't like about it is that there's a lot of stuff written about it, but very, very little explained about it. You know?
I don't find that at all.
Yeah,
I found
that in my looking up stuff. I found that.
But like even the PDF site, obviously you read the PDFs I put up.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And what?
And there's like footnotes and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? Where's the footnote? There's nothing. The footnote's not explained properly for me. Okay.
Right, okay.
I'm just not getting the stuff because I have no experience in ceremonial magic.
Oh, well, sure. Neither have I. Other than I've done some lesser banishing rituals.
You've been into this woo stuff for 10, 15 years. I'm like a year, maybe.
Yeah. So anyway, apart from all that, how's it going for you?
Yes, I missed one day yesterday because the young lads had it home. I didn't really get a chance. No, but it's been good for the meditation. Yeah, definitely, because I've tried to contact other things than just Minerva, and I definitely felt like I got in touch with some things and had Yeah, I'd really, because I like doing the divination after meditations with Minerva, say, and with these new things now, and getting really these crystal clear messages through doing the tarot, and it's like, okay, yeah, so let's keep doing this. But like, I know that even like when we complete the 30 days, I know I'm still going to try and find a way to push it down further to make it as quick as I can.
Yeah.
Because I just don't. The step aerobics thing just does my fucking head in. You know what I mean? It's just like it's so bloody pointless. You know.
Why do you think it's pointless?
Why do I think it's pointless?
Yeah.
Because, well, I'm fairly sure that if I didn't do the Hadouken movement, then like Bison Hooken. You know? And I think it would still work without it, to be honest.
But like, I suppose, like, how do you know?
Because Alan Chapman says no, because his thing, you know, at the very start of Advanced Magic for Beginners, he has these exercises, and they go, right, this is what a sigil is. Do the sigil. Now try and get the same result without doing the sigil. And you might still be able to do it. So that's kind of the way I'm going to.
Still starts with doing the actual thing properly first.
But even like with the names of like Babylon, Eros, and all that kind of stuff, I might even change them because they just don't.
Oh, you're doing the original one, not the kind of the updated one. You're saying Chaos, Psyche, Eros, not the Terion. Oh, what is it? Terion, Newish, Babylon, Hadid.
Yeah, I think mine is Chaos. Oh Jesus, Chaos, Babylon,
Psyche,
and Psyche. Psyche's the last one.
Eros and Psyche.
Eros and Psyche. Yeah. So I might even just put, I don't know, Celtic god names in there or something like that. Because it's just something that I'd identify with a bit more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know who Babylon is and Eros. But, like, Psyche, like, fuck, watch us wreck the mic. Psych. Fucking PJ and Duncan comes into my head. You know what I mean? That's not worth the shit. No, but, like, if you're trying to put yourself into a magical mood.
Yeah.
And then like, suddenly PJ and Duncan is in your head. Sure, the mood's gone. Like, you know.
So what then? I suppose I'll ask you. Because obviously our goals out of this are dramatically different then. So what is your goal out of doing the 30 days? What are you hoping for if you're, in a sense,
well, you know what?
not doing it as prescribed? Like,
okay, so you read my blog post, and you can see in the blog post I'm having a fucking existential crisis. I'm I don't know if I should do this. Like, this was freaking me out. And then I did a divination with Minerva, and she was like, "Fucking go for it." You know what I mean? I got your healer card, and I got the chariot from the tarot as well. And it's like, okay, Jesus, you can't really get much better cards than them, like, you know.
Yeah.
You're gonna be healed. It's a journey. Boom, there you are. Simple as that. Go for it. So okay, go for it. But my goal then is kind of like, okay, so I think it'll bring me closer to her, or bring me closer to what's around me that I don't know of. That's what my current kind of idea of my goal is going to be, you know, because I went into this going, I'm just going to do this because should I see what happens. And as well, like, me and you have been having a lot of conversations about Jung and Freud and ego and stuff like that, and I'm finding that like that. This is why I said I do the Star Ruby with you, because I was like the ego comes in and like, that's stupid. Step aerobics for weirdos wearing robes. What are you doing? But it's no, fucking get that out of your head and be like, you know what? Just try it. See what happens. Try. Because it's that little gnawing fucking, you're gonna look stupid. No one's gonna like you. That's fucking ego fucking with you. So you gotta tear that down a bit, you know?
Yeah, there's an awful lot in that. But like, I mean, see, it's the same with most of this stuff, is that there's a grain of truth in that too, though. So, you know, it's not that you can just totally discount it, because, I mean, people do take it to very bizarre places with the drama of it. To the point, I suppose, that like the Anton LaVey thing was that he just went full, no, this is drama, this is psycho, this is a, decompression chamber. Let's do it. Let's dress up. Let's have the stupid horns and all that. You know, so I appreciate that, you know, in that he's like, at least he's upfront, honest, and very kind of open about it. But it very quickly, I find, with the ceremonial magic, it gets very serious. Very, humour disappears really, really quickly from it. And I suppose that's just, in a sense, part of it is reaction to that it does look ridiculous from an outside point of view. And so you have to then compensate by being very serious about it, because, if you let a bit of humour creep in, does that let a bit of the feelings of ridiculous creep in? I don't know. I'd say there's probably an element for some people that is like, you can't, speaking in generalities, never there's always going to be someone who goes, well, that's not for me. I understand that.
course,
That's not what I do.
Of course,
Okay, that's fine.
Of course.
You see, then when you have things like the Golden Dawn, and you have there's a guy who's kind of one of the head of one of the Golden Dawns at the minute, and Griffin, I can't remember what his first name is, but he's like a very ridiculous character altogether. And he's like really, perfect fodder for memes, which I mean there's a number of meme pages about using him. I'm sure you've actually seen his face and certain occult memes, and you just probably didn't know who he is. But when they do stuff, it makes it look ridiculous too, and it kind of takes I don't know, it's, to me, see, I totally understand what you're saying, obviously, that we're in the ridiculousness of it. But I think, and because my point is that when I see people doing it, like say with those particular Golden Dawn, and they're really earnest about it, and you're kind of going, surely there's a bit of humour here. There's a bit of. It's like when I was in the photography class or the photography club, and it's so serious and they're taking it so seriously. And the best crack was me and my friend ended down the back, like we were at mass, having a laugh, because things are so much things are so much funnier in a solemn, serious kind of setup.
Yeah.
And so there's always a part of me that wants to laugh at these things.
Yeah.
But I suppose with doing the Star Ruby, for me, everyone, as I said when we were doing it, do whatever you want. Like this is not a kind of a, I don't know what's the word. It's not mandatory to do it in a certain way, and everyone's allowed to do it their own way. I'm just saying this is what I'm going to do. And a few people have done, as you have, different ways, whatever. But it was just I wanted to engage with it in a sense of do it exactly as prescribed, to kind of look at it at my own feelings around it too, like at the ridiculousness of it, and not immediately try to change it to more fit in what I think is right. Because it's kind of coming from the magia thing, magia, excuse me, I always do that, because it's one of those words I've read more than I say out loud. Where it's like, where you're looking just to see, you're not looking to confirm something you already know.
Sure, yeah.
And I think an awful lot of times I'm very guilty. We all are, but I can only speak for myself. Very guilty of looking at stuff in magic, particularly from a chaos magic point of view, and immediately augmenting it and fitting it into the box of thing. And I definitely feel I've missed the point on some things because of that. So when I said, right, I'll do the story and I'll engage in it properly, to have a look at all of that kind of things. And it's funny though that when you do take it serious, in the sense of that, when you start off and you're in the I always go to call them Harpocrates, but it's obviously not. It's Harpocrates. Is that how it's pronounced? The first, the science, the
first bit.
science,
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's pronounced the same way as Socrates. Hippocrates. That's it. Yeah, another word or name I only read rather than really hear, and just to really put yourself in, what that represents and stuff like that. Where it'd be very easy if you're in a crowded room or there's people around you looking, you're just standing there with Cunis Leatherhull type thing. And I think getting over the kind of ridiculousness of promo yungies, pitchable teledacry, and all this kind of stuff. That once the ridiculousness in yourself kind of goes, I think it might be a different experience of it. I don't know. I still have a kind of background hum of, this kind of, particularly on the first day or something. But I have noticed that it's definitely. Oh, you have something to chime in?
It's like what Morgan on the Discord. He's become very active of late, and he has been putting up videos and stuff about it. And he was saying
great stuff.
Because he was explaining like whether there's blinds or not, and who you want to go with and who you trust. And he made an audio recording of him doing the LBGTQZY Roflol, whatever the fuck's called.
Yeah.
And so he mentions that a lot. He's like, look, it's more, and this is what I'm getting from it. It's more about the intent, and it's about, right, you're centering yourself or you're grounding yourself so that you can have this other kind of experience afterwards. Which is different than yours, because you're saying, right, I'm doing the banishing thing, but you are doing meditation after it now, though, aren't you?
Yeah.
That wasn't your plan at the beginning, though, was it?
Well, no. I don't know. I can't remember. my plan was definitely not to do to augment the Star Ruby, and that was, you were talking about, and someone else was talking about maybe when you get to a certain section of it that you didn't do an invoking, and I was going, well, I'm not doing an invoking, I'm just doing the Star Ruby it is, but I'm probably going to do it before my meditation because that's the period of time. So in a sense, the meditation, because it is the so you're doing the beloved, which is essentially debatably an invoking, right? Or at least it's acknowledgement of.
I think it's like the HDA.
So it's the same thing. So I mean, I am doing it, but in my head, it's two separate occasions. Like it gets two. It's not written up in the same place in my my notes. It's Star Ruby notes, meditation notes. It's a different thing to keep it kind of separate. But yeah, just because you were saying about it's the intention thing, and I we've talked about this a million times. The intention, I think, is the that's where the magic comes from. But again, I would say in this, I'll go, well, I'll approach it as if that mightn't be the case, and see does doing the actions, does doing the things, does doing the dance, the aerobics, the shake it back, does it have an impact? Because I assume up to now, I totally 100% agree with you that it doesn't. That it would be, like the kind of thing of that if you banish with laughter, just have a good laugh at it is as good, or as a good banishing as any of them, or my thing of just cleaning your room, which I'm going to say is going to be a better banishing ritual than the Star Ruby. Well, it depends. What are you banishing? Like, it's definitely clears your mind better than the Star Ruby has so far. What's this, day 6 when we're talking about this? So yeah, just to test my own kind of bullshit meter on it. Is intention the actual?
So many days have passed, though, man. That things went kind of bad at the start for both of us, like.
Yeah,
and that I thought it was going bad for me. It went far worse for you, like.
Yeah, but I mean that's it's funny though, because I was going to say, that's par for the course, but it's always still surprising when it happens. You go, oh, but I should have known. This is how it happens.
People. So Tommy's about 3 or 4 years of your website just fucking puffed up into the air.
Originally the entire thing went, and then it got back to 2017, and then it's like it was like basically. And
the first post that came up was like the 30 shadows, and like, whoa. This is telling you something here, man.
Which is a shadow working thing, because that turned into the journey, which is the year-long shadow working thing that I did on Patreon. But it was kind of going like, of course we'll get Spud, we'll get him on Adventures in Woo we'll get all this together, we'll do it. We had the site looking well, you had a post up, we had videos up, it's all great. Half an hour later, Saphirian goes, there's a 403 on your site, lads. And I went, for Christ's sake. That led, and it's always, I knew when that happened, because the pattern obviously isn't destruction and things, because when it happened with the Unreal Engine stuff that I talked about before, didn't happen with Clip Studio with regard to the latest comic stuff. It starts off, it appears that everything is lost, and then you get it back. And that's my camera. So I knew, because I said to you, this isn't lost. This is just, it's a delay. There's something where I have to, I don't know, pay the price or something stupid. Like it's,
pay the toll.
I lost a day's work out of it. That's essentially what happened. And that's kind of like the Unreal thing. I lost a couple of days out of it. So it's not, and even in the breaking of it, it broke in such a way that it would be fixable, which is odd. Because it's split into 2 FDPs. One which was decided, I'm now 2017, and the other was going, yes, no, I have everything, but I just don't work. So I have a working thing and then all the knowledge, which was exactly the same problem that happened with the Unreal Engine, where I had all the assets fine, that wouldn't point to each other, and I had a file that would point to each other but didn't have the assets, and in the end the fix was the merging of these 2 things. So Braxis on the website was saying, like, that seems like something you should look at in that. I was going, and it's going, but it's funny then that, because I would see you joining the Adventures in Woo Woo kind of thing as a similar merging of like kind of 2 things in the way like the way the other problems was, but it still resulted in the same thing. So I don't know, but it is interesting that the fix of this shadow or role involves a merging of 2 similar things, two aspects of the same thing, but broke in different ways. I mean, there's definitely something in that, isn't it?
But like, where do you start with it?
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, well, Alan Chapman would you say you start by just looking at it.
Okay,
And
just start by recognising it is something.
starting it and paying it attention, tending to it. I got through, just to change thing, got through another binding last night, and it's so surprising, and so there's kind of a sense of humour that comes with it. There's kind of a point where it's kind of, it's funny, like, but in that when you realise it, like, there's a good natured humor to it or something. It's not comedy by any things, but there's kind of, that kind that kind of thing. And it was around the whole thing, and it took me about a week to do it. And really found it, I don't know what this is. What is the thing? And it turned out that what it actually in the end was when something happened, acting cool as a reaction, pretending it doesn't matter is the kind of a role when it does matter. And so it was like kind of, but I had written down very early in it, acting cool, which is ultimately what it came out from. But it was only when I seen it in the entire thing. So part of me was aware of it, didn't know what was going on, but it just, it's like that thing of that someone, you've heard the same expression countless times, and then one day someone says it to you and you go, oh yeah, no, I understand. But it was so weird because that thing where it says everyone is playing the same role, which seems unlikely until, it keeps, every time you do a bind, you go, no, well, it happened again. So, but even in one of my kind of, one of the dramas, one of the branches, which is basically, the same role playing in different parts of your life, there was a third person in it. And when it got to that point, when I realised what it was, I realised even the third person in that drama was doing the same thing. I was going, for fuck's sake, the humour in it. But the big thing on binding for me was that not writing it, which is what I was doing. I was writing pages and pages and pages.
Do you know, I was having I had a joint the other night, first time in ages, and I made it as weak as I possibly could, but still putting some in it because I didn't want to have a fucking panic attack. Like the last time I was watching that fucking anime cartoon, what's it called, about the giants?
Oh, Attack on Titan.
Attack of Titan, and I fucking freaked the fuck out. I ended up just closing the laptop and going to bed and left the lights on and everything. Fucking freaked shit out of me. But anyway, this time I had very, very little in it, and I was enjoying it, and I was going to put on Super Troopers and have a good fucking giggle, and I watched about 2 minutes of it and I went, no, you know what, I won't watch that, because if I watch that then I'm up until 2 a.m. So I put back on Match of the Day, and football was just joining up. Oh, it was amazing. It was like fractal football. It was gorgeous. But then I went to bed and I was just had these boom, 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 boom flashes of ideas, and I was trying to connect, like, because I don't know who I was reading or was talking about, and it was that, like, a lot of our traumas and issues can be traced back to before we kind of become conscious. So before we're 4 years old, before we
so
come on, we're conscious, but we're not.
Or
there.
Even pre-verbal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I was having all these ideas, and I was like, okay, so like maybe even like the whole idea of Minerva is this kind of thing of that, like, because I go in every night and I tuck in the kids and make sure they're covered and not sprawled out and legs hanging off beds or whatever. So go in but like, and I know that you would remember stuff like your parents doing that from when you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old kind of thing. But we also have the memories in there of them doing it when we're 6 months old, 2 years old. That it's just that we don't remember them. They're in there, we just don't remember them. So it's like, okay, so maybe this whole Minerva thing comes from that. Like I have this somewhere deep embedded in my subconscious that someone comes in and tucks me in and looks after me at nighttime, sort of stuff. So because that's my experience of sleep paralysis has been good and not bad, because I've seen it as there's this nice figure who's like, everyone's gonna be all right, just calm down, okay, here's a hug kind of thing, but then also like just thinking like the kind of bindings or shadow stuff that you have, like that's probably, if you could reach back and to see into where it all comes from, I reckon it all lies in the pre-conscious. It comes in like the scarring of the unconscious before you become conscious, kind of thing. I thought it was a good idea I had.
Yeah, it is, and it's like it's a thing that was brought up to me when I was doing therapy, and it's a scary, horrifying idea. Is because it makes it impossible for some of these things to work out what it is, because it happened and you made the Oh, you made you came to an understanding of something, or you conceptualized it. Was probably the best thing before you had words.
Yeah, before you could even describe it. Yeah.
So, like, how can you
Crazy.
describe something that you don't have words for? Literally, so it's like, so there's it can be these kind of feelings of. What is that? And that's I wonder though. I would assume that Alan Chapman would say that you can still. No, I know what he would say. You just sit with it and you look at it and see what it is and tend to it, and
But sure, it would probably maybe fall under all that collective unconsciousness that Jung talks about. That a trauma that happened to your grandparents can still affect you mentally.
Or even something like World War II is definitely affecting us in many ways. Even though we weren't physically there, through the kind of societal trauma, or something that, even down to things that I suppose that we have somewhat cultural amnesia around, that that we don't know why we feel. It's that thing I've said to you before. There's probably something very strange that we do or think is true that isn't at all, but it's just sitting in the background because of something we decided or something happened to us, generations ago.
Oh, sure, look, that video that we watched yesterday from, what's his name? Young Boyo?
Uber Boyo.
Uber Boyo, yeah?
Oh, yeah. Uber.
Uber, awful name.
It's Uber, isn't it?
Uberboyo. He's a YouTuber.
It's like the Ubermensch, isn't it? Only he's saying it's the Uber Boyo.
Uber Boyo. Boyo is the Irish lad or chap or something, yeah? So he's this good lad, and he's I presume he's a Jungian psychology student or graduate. He's young. He's only 20 odd years old.
I think it's mid-20s. I would say he is, but he's probably one of those things where you can think, oh no, I'm doing,
Nah, he knows too much. He knows too much.
He did do it with another guy, with a British guy, and he started getting on my nerves. Remember we were watching the video of him?
He's gone, yeah.
With and it was like he was talking to some, I don't know, some psychiatrist dude, and they were talking about no fap, and there was this like token woman sitting between the two of them who's just every now and again would say something, and the two boys would be like, you say something. It was like really, it was cringy.
Yeah.
It was cringy.
Well, there's a good one about how that medical science has found that there seems to be two consciousness within us, or two kind of beings within us. You're conscious and you're subconscious, but they have these distinct personalities. And he explains it really well, because he's like the right side of the brain, the left side of your brain. No, the right. Which one is it? Most people are right-handed.
Right, so the left is the analytical. Yeah.
The left side of your brain. I have to think of this the other way, because I'm left-handed, so I'm opposite, right? So people who are right-handed are left-sided brain, but the left side of your brain then comes from, that's your ego, and that's your soldier. He sees things and he reacts immediately. And then you have the subconscious he's the general, he sees the bigger picture, And the reason that people get things like anxiety and leading to depression, and even like he says that like the good feeling, that's a signal from the general. And he's telling the soldier, I wouldn't do that if I was you. But sometimes the soldier will do it anyway. And then that can lead to, like, repeated bad behaviours will lead to anxiety and will lead to depression eventually. And I was like, oh my God, this guy's fucking genius. Like, he has it fucking down. And then there was this mental fucking synchronicity with when he starts going on about Aries and Athena. Aries is the soldier archetype, and he's Mars. He's your consciousness, and he is the doer, but he isn't the one who sees the overall picture. That's Athena. And I went, oh my God, what the fuck is going on here? Because Athena is just another name for Minerva. So Minerva is my subconscious talking to me, and I was like, I need a cup of tea. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? My head is going to explode. This is fucking mental, So really, really bizarre night for me. That was, but also there's this great part in it where he's speaking about this woman who had a stroke.
Yeah,
and it's an old TED talk. Even Aga was sitting beside me when I was watching on my earphone. She was later telling me, I recognized the woman because she had seen it, and she talks about how the right side of her brain was like coming online and telling her to do stuff, and that it had never spoken to her before.
Wasn't she?
She's a brain surgeon, and like she has this really funny bit where she's like, "Oh my God, you were a brain surgeon and you were experiencing a stroke. This is awesome." And then the other part of my brain came back on and said, you need to get help. It's really, really funny, like really, really good. But she talks about how, like, when she was in the middle of the stroke, the other side of her brain couldn't tell where her body ended and the wall started. So all the ions and atoms are mixing with each other, and it's just amazing to hear her talk about it and to word it in the way she did. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to fucking look into this a lot more, because it's fucking fascinating to think that there's something, another personality in you. And there's this, there was it was Harvard or Boston. Harvard's in Boston. There's one of those schools. They did another test with these people, and where they could kind of split the left side and the right side of the brain.
It was because that was what treatment for epilepsy originally.
No, this is originally that was for epilepsy, and they would remove your brain, half your brain, like, and you can live without it, whatever. But he went on, and they did a test later on where they would get people to focus on one side of the screen, and then a word would pop up on the right side of the screen. So the left hand side of your brain sees that. So say, for example, sorry, they were asking questions. I'm getting this wrong. They were asking yes, no, maybe, and it was like, do you live in Boston? Yes, no, maybe. Yes. Do you live in California? No. Do you drive a car? Yes. Very simple stuff, but identifying that the brain can do it. And then they would flip the side of the brain, and they would say something like, are you a man or a woman? And it clicked woman. And then the person started laughing. It was a man. And he's going, why are you laughing? And he went, I don't know. And it's like, okay, so your subconscious has a sense of humor. And he's like, I don't fucking know what the fuck is going on. And then they asked the left-hand side of the brain, do you believe in God? Your man straight away, no. Ask the other side of the brain, do you believe in God? Yes. And it's like, wow, that's insane. Like, there's two personalities living within us. Two.
There's a worst big thing to that, because I was telling you, I read a book, or part of a book was about this, and I can't remember what the book was, and it's wrecking my head that I can't. But it was also saying that with the split brain, that if you told one side of the brain to do something, like say, get up and get a cup of coffee. And then, so it's the analytical brain, the ego brain is the right brain, right? Am I right? No,
the left.
Left brain, right.
Everyone's right-handed, so think of that as your ego.
Yeah,
right?
So they would get up and make the coffee, right? And then they would ask, why did you do that? And you would come up with an excuse. Oh, I just wanted to have a coffee. I want to do it. So the kind of impulse that comes from the left brain first, right brain, whatever, the unconsciousness, then you rationalize it.
Yeah.
And think it's your idea.
It's crazy. You know, but isn't it mad that like there is no free will then? It's all done for you already. Whoever's up there.
Yeah, well, I mean that's
well, no. Whoever's in there is trying to guide the soldier. You know, but the soldier.
But that's
can't
the big
wreck
dilemma.
things.
Then, should anyone be in jail? You know, like who's the person who committed the crime and all that kind of stuff. But like, it's hard when you're the victim of said crimes, like, you know, this. But it's
what led
Dawkins does talk about that a fair bit too.
Yeah,
that whole idea of you know, who can you take to task for if you know, if we are just nothing more than a series of synapses firing off.
Mad, isn't it?
Epiphenomena, blah 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 blah.
What led me onto that video was because I'm still. Like I'm trying to find my best way into learning about ego dissolving, because I think I have it right in that. Well, your man says it in his Uber Boyo says it in his video as well. Is that it's not about dissolving your ego; it's more about learning to work with it the best way. And that was the kind of way that I've read Jung would talk about, and even Steiner before him would talk. You know, Jung and Steiner hated Jung. No, the other way, because Steiner was first. Jung hated Steiner. And I think it's because they were so fucking close to each other, except Jung was scientific about it. Steiner was all...
Steiner was mental. Bees on Mars!
But they were very, very close in what they thought about a lot of aspects. But anyway, so it's because, like, you know, reading about, like, Crossing the Abyss and... Chapman's Magia and you know, the Buddhist kind of way of doing things is that they all talk about this, you know, killing the ego. But I don't think it's actually possible to kill. I think the way that enlightened people talk about it isn't the way that I can understand it properly, because you can't. I don't think there's a way to fully kill your ego, because you still need the ego to make you want to get up in the morning, or to make you want to, like, if there's a soldier and a general in your head, like, you still need the soldier to go out and cut the fucking wood, you know what I mean? Because if it was just a subconscious way, we'll be fine, we'll just react to it on a daily basis. If we're cold, we'll just be cold today. Tomorrow we will take it as it comes. It's -30, you fucking retard. We need firewood, it's outside. No, we'll just react to it. But you know what I mean? That's what I think, and but I do think, like, I'm not putting words in Chapman's mouth here. I think they do explain it in the last book in the series that it's not about enlightenment and bliss and yada yada. It's about like just a deeper understanding of how everything just kind of fits together, you know?
Yeah, and I think the word doesn't help ego either. Like, or is that Theosophists like to pronounce it ego, which really does my head in. Just pronounce it ego like normal people. So stop it. But it's because we also have the other thing of ego, meaning, you know, you think you're great, you know, which I mean, I understand where it comes from and all that, but we kind of then relate removing the ego to a supplication or a surrender or a lessening of, which in a sense is, but it's you know, we're already told, or we're already
we're after mixing up ego with the word cockiness or overconfidence.
Yeah,
and it's not that, like,
no, it's not that at all. And I suppose id is not Freud's kind of one, or the self.
Id
although
would be
the self
a better
in
word,
Jung in terms he says is not the ego, but you know, it's just because I think we have a problem with removing the ego because we kind of also have a feeling as a society that we're constantly, you know, pushed down and held back and told, you know, particularly if you've come from, as we do, the Catholic background where, you know, you're a piece of shit and God hates you, and, you know, so then you're told, oh, I also have to get rid of myself too, and the, you know, the bits that I've worked on, and I think that can be hard, but it's not that, it's, you know, so you know,
it led me on, because like last week when we were talking about the free will and Crowley's thing, I was just overthinking it all week, and I just couldn't get, like, because for me, I had always kind of conflated it wrongly that it's like, this is your vocation in life. So whether you be a doctor or a nurse, or you're going to run a puppy kennel, or you're going to take care of sick horses, or whatever, something fucking equally as noble, you know, or you're going to be an assassin, or whatever it is, your true calling kind of thing. But through thinking about it then this week, that's not what it is. It's about your true self, as in this thing of learning to work with your ego properly, and, you know, facing your shadows, and you're also incorporating, like, for young stuff, you're incorporating your anima and animus and all these things, and just kind of knowing that, shit, okay, what is my base personality, you know, which is fucking hard to find when you think of so many layers.
I don't know. Like, this is pure speculation because I don't know. But, like, I mean, you could be confusing too many disparate things that don't actually join together.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, true will mightn't be remotely similar to what Jung is talking about. It might be. Yeah. You know, I'm not.
No, I think it is. I think it is now.
But in the sense of kind of balancing, you know, ego or the anima, animus, blah, 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 true will might be pointing at something slightly, you know, in the different part of the hierarchy, just because it seems similar. And from our understanding now, you know, it can seem that it's relevant. That's my kind of, I suppose, issue with the Kabbalah stuff as well. It's not with the Kabbalah itself, it's with this insistence that we have on putting everything else into the Kabbalah. You know, just leave it alone. It's fine. You know, 40 servants don't need to be in the Kabbalah. You know, they are in one sense, but I mean, it's not like, oh, which is the, you know, it's. I think we can, and both of us are very guilty of overcomplicating things and overthinking things, and you know, trying to work it. But like at the same time, there's a reward for that sometimes, in that things do all slot into place and you go, oh my God, it is all connected, it's all true, everything's talking about the same thing. But
the worst thing that you know, people don't talk about when it comes to enlightenment is that, and the lads in those Baptist head books do talk about, and it's that the troughs between points of enlightenment are fucking hard, man. I remember I sent you one when I was away on holidays, and I've had another one since then, but like the couple of the 2 weeks there in between that, like, the fucking, you get low, like, really, you're like, am I depressed? Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, because your mind is just fucking working so hard in the background to try and figure out what the next kind of thing is, you know? And you're just, your world is falling apart. You feel inside like, oh my God, I need to get out. Like, I'm done. I can't do this. Yeah. And then your kids are falling out at you, and like, oh Jesus, no God, I have this as well, like, you know. And you're trying to be nice to them and cook the food and all this stuff, but inside your head, you're like, I should be dead. There's no point. And then a day or two later, then bing, something very, very simple goes off, and you're just like, ah ha ha.
Or it doesn't. It just, you know, you just get out of that. That's the thing. It doesn't always have to be a kind of thing.
It doesn't always have to be a but it can just be like a Yeah.
You see, that's come back to the whole Margia stuff of that the only way through the light is through the darkness. That you have to, you know, it's a thing that I've huge kind of thing that happened to me this week after I finished Catafalque by Peter Kingsley, which took me the longest time to finish, like well over a year, just because it's such a heavy book and it's talks about stuff I don't really want to.
And I have such weak arms, Spud. My arm, I look at them, they're so tiny.
It's such a heavy book. But it's like stuff I don't really want to look at because I have an aversion to doom porn. And it's not but you see, the problem is, when I was looking at it as doom porn. And it's not doom porn. It's not at all. But it appears to be to the thing. So it took me a long time to kind of finish it. And when I did, there was kind of an appreciation of my unwillingness to look at certain darknesses. There's certain things because I'm scared or afraid or I don't want to. And there's a great example in it, and it just really brought it home for me, where he's talking about a story he heard of someone who was dying, a man, and he's old, dying of old age, like whatever it was, and he kept asking his family, will you bring the cat and place it on my stomach, because that's what, you know, that's the wish. I want to talk to my cat or be around my cat before I die. And there was an absolute denial of that he wasn't allowed to have this, that, you know, that was kind of dismissed as, you know, don't be so stupid or whatever. And obviously man died and he didn't get his dying wish. And the reason why the people were kind of dismissing it wasn't because of a hygiene or, you know, kind of thing. It was because letting the cat be on the person was an acknowledgement that death is about to happen. And without the cat being there, you can kind of dismiss it or you can pretend it's not happening.
Okay.
And it's kind of, so what's to me an awful lot of doom, what appears to be doom porn, is not wanting to have the realization that things do die and things do end, and it's not allowing to have the cat on the dying person's thing. And it's incidental whether the person dies or the world ends or whatever it is. It's the lesson in it for me was learning that I'm not even looking at it. And so I've, you know, have this darkness and that. So then I started looking at it, and I don't know what it is yet, but at least I'm looking at it, and you know, so that's the kind of my current understanding of, you can only get to the light through the darkness, and you first have to look at the fucking light, or you look at the darkness before you see it. You have to let the dying person have the fucking cat, because you have to, you know, you have to acknowledge that this person is going to die, and by not tending to the dying person in the way they need, they die worse and in a worse way than they would have.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I mean, you could put it to like, say, the current civilization, and, you know, like, say, let's accept, as Peter Kingsley and Alan Chapman and numerous others said, that, you know, we're now on the downward slope of this civilization, and you can get upset about it, and you can try to go, no, please, you know, like, no, we're going to get the Star Trek future or whatever, or you can start tending to it like you would a dying person in a respectful manner, and by doing that, it would be a much easier experience. It's because then you're trying for it not to happen that you make it much worse. And that's kind of a thing that it's one of those things, you know, I'm sure I've come across that sentiment before, but I went, all right, I understand that. And there's like the whole sense of mourning and loss and sadness that I carry with me seems to be around that. You know, and it's that's kind of similar to what we're talking about. That seems a bit pre-verbal. That seems to be, I remember someone like a Reiki person said, oh, that's something you brought in with you. Well, not quite that, but it's like, that's something that's, you know, there's no words for that or whatever, and it's because the only way I'll probably be able to understand that is by allowing myself to look at the darkness. It's allowing the apocalypse. It's not whether the apocalypse happens or not, but it's tending to it in the proper manner. Do you do any of
that? Because one of Kingsley's meditations is, you know, to go into the cave and die.
Oh, the incubation. I did a lot of incubation last year, stuff. And like. Do
you like it? I liked it. I've done it.
I do like it. My problem with it is I feel, because this is Tommy, is I feel I probably should be doing something, which is like, you know, literally the opposite of what it is. In that I not that I should feel I should be doing something. I kind of have a sense of that. I'm not understanding it because this seems too easy, or this scene, you know, the allowing. It's like that meme I made once of Professor Xavier doing, I must allow effortlessness. You know, putting too much effort into letting things go. I do like it, and I have done a lot of it just because I've been so much focused on the fire practice, you know. And I don't know if you've seen that in the Magia Discord, that I finally got to the third stage of the fire practice, the first time ever. And that again came out of that kind of period after finishing Catafalque or whatever. And it's like it's an interesting one for me, because I could have experiences, and I possibly might have had experiences like that before, but when it happened, I knew what it was this time because it's been described to me, you know, and that the whole thing was kind of. Now there's a fourth stage, which is dissolution, which I certainly didn't get, but it's like seeing. So it's like the one to the many, which is the first part, which is the description, and then the fire analogy is the how am I getting this right? So it's the opposite, seeing within each other. So you're seeing the many to the one and the one to the many in the thing, and then they both appear to be the same thing. And it was kind of like everything was arising from the same place, that everything was exactly the same, and it seemed to be in my head first, and then that went away as well, including me, which is, you know, I was the same thing as the sound of the bird outside, the same thing as my son having you know, playing something and having a mental time downstairs, or, you know, the creak of the door or whatever it was, and there was no difference, and it was all the same thing. And it was kind of, it was a I don't know, not a bliss, but a calm, something like that came out of it, and then you kind of come out of it. Very, very cool, because my favorite thing I always said about meditation is the only thing I get out of meditation is a sore back. So at least now I can say.
If my eyes are wandering here, it's because I'm looking for what I wrote in the Kingsley thing. It's what. Yeah. So you sit down to do this death or incubation meditation, and you say to yourself, you engage your senses. So this is the way that my interpretation of it. So I see, I feel, I taste, I smell, I hear, I think. And you try and engage all of them at the same time. By doing this, I came to this realization that all of these things, the seeing, the smelling, the tasting, but doing them as I see to see, not that I see a lamp, it's that I am physically looking. You get me? Yeah. That's the see to see. Same with I feel. I'm not feeling anything, but my feelings are engaged. That type is the way I can explain it the best. But then you see that all of these things, they're a construction interpreted by the self as something, and actually they're not real because they're all constructed by me. But I am part of something higher. So that is the realization, and then it all falls away, and that's you engaging with your pure consciousness. And this is something that Steiner used to talk about as well, you know. That was my kind of one. And I think it's fascinating.
I think that's like, I mean, if say to come back to the fire analogy, I think it's exactly the same thing. So you start with describing, you know, I hear a bird, you know, and so it's description, and then you see it from the other point of view, which is everything, the fire. So the entire thing is the fire, and you know, these are little flames, but it's still part of the same thing, and then it goes away. So I mean, it's the same. Three stages you've just described.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's mad that you can do these little things and realize, oh shit, holy fuck, oh my god, wait, so there's more than just spud, huh? Isn't that mad? You know what I mean? Although I still know that film crew are outside my door right now waiting for me to eat the fucking sperm cake.
Cake of light. Well, eat it. It's today. You should have a poll on the Discord to see when you'll actually get to it.
No, it's good. I really enjoyed it, and what I liked as well, I did get a bit of a laugh out of it, because in a very, you know, gallows humor kind of way, is that you're just kind of lying there in your meditation thinking, yeah, I'm dead, and the world is fine, you know, not even missed. I'm grand.
Well, that's the Louis C.K. thing, is go, what happens when you die? Loads of things. You're just not involved with them.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's good. There was a funny one as well that your man Morgan put up something on Discord about I don't remember his name. Some priest was on Oprah and he was talking about free will, and I clicked into it.
Oh, that's the surrender experiment thing.
Yeah, I clicked into it, and it was 30 minutes long, and it was mostly Oprah, and I went, nah, God. But then there was another one on the right side, and it was him giving a sermon he's a Catholic priest. He was giving a sermon in a church, and I watched it, and it was brilliant. And he describes Kingsley's incubation meditation almost to the fucking point.
Right.
It's insane. Like, he does this thing, is that, like, we all need to die. We all need to die so that we know that when we die, everything's okay. I was like, holy fucking shit, like. Is this guy reading Kingsley? He has to be.
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily just Kingsley's thing. Because,
I know that.
He got it from the Greek thing. But I remember George Harrison talking about, in any of the number of Beatles documentaries I've watched, where he's talking about his meditation practice as practicing to die. And of course, you have the Native American shamanic stuff, which is, the whole death ceremony to it and all that. Well, at least there is in the bastardized, westernized thing that I've been exposed to. I don't know what to actually do. And there is this kind of sense of, well, I mean, the whole kind of 3-day thing that you have of the death and the rebirth of the initiate that is played out in Jesus' life, but it was also played out in like the pyramids and stuff. We have to die, so that when you actually die,
you know
what's going on.
Like when a priest is ordained, he does it up on the altar. It's a bizarre thing to see. Like, you see the priest would lie flat out on the ground with his arms out like a cross, and it's just also what do you call it? Metaphor, I suppose, for dying. Right. It's mad. You know, they wear wedding rings as well. Do you know that, priests?
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah. Did I know priests? I know, certainly
nuns do as well.
Nuns
maybe
do,
it's not priests,
and I thought it was bishops and stuff as well. You'd like to become. Maybe I don't know. I'm sure they do.
Maybe it is bishop. Maybe I had that wrong. Anyway, no matter. Adi Da. Do we have to? Yeah. Do you want to talk about Adi Da?
We can talk a bit about Adi Da, because I'll tell you what, that documentary's not good.
That documentary was a pile of shite.
Yeah, it's Conscious Light. It's called. It's the documentary made by Adi Da fanatics, which is, say it's shite. I know you will learn absolutely nothing about Adi Da from it.
Absolutely nothing.
No.
Well, I mean, you'll learn. I think there's 3 or 4 main teachings. That's about it, and they all come from the different stages of his life. I think there's 4 teachings. I think it is, and okay, cool. But it could have been any other fucking yogi. I mean. Do you know what was so special about this fella? Oh, well, he was amazing. And it's like, did anyone actually watch this before they released it? Because it's just a complete whitewash. It's awful.
It's a brochure. It's one of those documentaries that are actual brochures for things. So Adi Da was born Franklin Jones in the 60s, am I right? 60s, 50s? No, 1939. It's not what he was asked
30s,
sometime. Yeah.
War,
and he is purported to have been born realised, and he then grows up and he becomes aware of a thing, the conscious light, which he calls the bright, which is, fair enough. But then he gets into teaching and stuff like that, and he has very different kind of ideas about how to teach, first by being friends with them, first by having like kind of a commune, then having a separation, and then by the end of his life, it's all through, just touch. He doesn't really talk. It's that kind of, what's that word where it's, you get awakened by being around your master. It'll come to me.
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus. Transmission. Excuse me. Yeah, that's what it is. So just the idea that if we are living in a magical universe, which we seem to be, and we are consciously sharing in our natures, which meaning that what I understand about the universe, I am sharing with you. And so if I am a divinely realised person, then I am sharing my divinely realised nature with you, and therefore there is the possibility of this transmission of that. And that's not just him, that's kind of a known thing in there. And then he ends up in Fiji and everyone loves him and he dies. Only that's not the story at all. So there's a great documentary podcast series called Dear Franklin Jones, which is written from the point of view of a guy who was in the Adi Da cult, for want of a better word or whatever, whose parents had been in it and he was born into it, kind of thing. And it's a whole thing is that he was made write letters to who he was told was God, essentially, because that's part of the teaching of Adi Da, is that he is the beloved. He's the, that you worship him as the divine. And so he's just talking about the different letters and stuff that he had over the years that he was writing to him, and kind of reads through them and goes and talks to his parents. And, they kind of get exercise, I suppose, or, the kind of taken out of, at some point, I think she was an accountant for him or something like that, but they kind of get excommunicated out of it and, out of the inner circle. And it's really, really interesting. He's definitely believes this is a cult, but he's interviewing his dad through it, and his dad still is, in a sense, says, no, this was great, and he was right and all this. But it was like, He'd lots of sex with lots of people who were his followers. You know, he indulged very much in all the things that
He had good looking followers, though. We have to say that. You know,
and he's one of those people. I love his voice. I mean, he's kind of has a great quality to his voice. It's a kind of you know his voice anyway. You don't obviously. You thought it was ridiculous. But that I mean, it's a very unique and in the same way that
no. Just
when Alan Watts comes on,
I was just thinking like he's a very ugly man.
Oh, he's a very ugly man.
Very ugly. You know, like,
as Alan Chapman calls him, he ends up looking like Yoda, and I mean, you can't get past that.
yeah.
But he had loads of scandals and there was loads of things, and he 100% thought he would be recognised and announced as the world spiritual leader in the year 2000, and wasn't, obviously. And he, you know, he's... Ken Wilber said about him once, he says, the guy definitely knows what he's on about, but as a personality, whoo, you know, wow. But, you know, so, I mean, that's the kind of thing of enlightenment, though, isn't it? That we assume that it makes you a good person, or you know, a perfected person. And awakening doesn't necessarily it doesn't seem to have any impact on that whatsoever. You know, that he can be totally self-actualized, awakened person and a complete asshole. And in fact, the famous ones seem to be, for the most part, complete assholes. You know, or
isn't
at least the ones to make documentaries on Netflix about.
Like I got like the teaching stuff I thought was interesting, but like. Sure, it's like all of these things with lineage and ancestry and all that stuff. They're all more or less saying the same thing, just in an updated way or in a way that speaks to more people or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's cool. I get that. That's nice. I liked his teachings, but after watching it, I don't really want to know anything more about him because it just didn't turn me on at all. It's a bit like we were going to talk about that other Philip K. Dick, Terence McKenna book. What's the name of it?
High Weirdness.
High Weirdness. And that's something as well. Like Robert Anton Wilson features in it a lot as well. And like, I love him. He's amazing. I love Terence McKenna as well.
Yeah.
But after learning more about Philip K. Dick, I couldn't be arsed watching any of his films now.
Yeah, I didn't. That book, High Weirdness, I was going, really enjoyed the Terence McKenna. I thought the whole thing of the two boys losing their minds in the forest was brilliant. You know, and Dennis actually losing his mind properly, like we're worried about you, Dennis. You're not making any sense. And in the whole Robert Anton Wilson, enjoyed all that. I had recently listened to Cosmic Trigger 2 as well, so I was in a kind of a Robert Anton Wilson space. And I got to Philip K. Dick and I goes, Jesus Christ, this book is dragging. It's like, oh my God. It's the most of the book is about Philip K. Dick, or at least that's what it feels like.
He says at the end of the book, like, this is the product of his like PhD, his dissertation.
Oh, I thought the 3 sections were, or you think he's talking just about the Philip K. Dick section, is it?
No, I mean the end of the book. He says like, this is the product of me studying for my PhD because he got a job.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I thought though, the PhD was about the 3 boys.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
No,
it was about it was going to be about Philip K. Dick, and then he was like, no, we can make this a bigger thing and involve other people of the same generation. You know.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, but like, I don't know. I mean, like even like, look, Scanner Darkly, I've tried to watch it 3 times and just went, nah, I'm not bothered. I think the only film I've watched is the Androids Fall Asleep. What's that called? What's the film? Blade Runner.
Androids Fall Asleep.
Do Androids Dream of Sleep? What's it called? Because I read that.
Androids Dream of Sleep or whatever.
Do Androids Dream of Sleep? I think that's what it is. But that's Blade Runner, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I've seen Blade Runner, the director's cut, and it was just the most boring piece of shit I've probably ever watched. It's awful.
Director's cut's 2 on the nose, 2 points
just
too much.
Awful. And so I didn't watch the new one. And I think they're the only 2 Philip K. Dick films I know of. Maybe I've seen more. I don't know. I'm not a massive film buff anymore.
No, you would have seen some. Tom Cruise is in a few of them. You probably, unbeknownst to yourself, have seen them.
Maybe. Like Magnolia, is that him?
No.
You must respect the cock. That bit? That's hilarious.
That's a great film. That's a really great film. 1 is the loneliest number. That's a great film. Must watch that again. It's probably not good now when I watch it. I won't watch it.
Be ruining. But like, it's weird. Like, I had the exact same thing with the Adi Da film. Adi Da and the Philip K. Dick one. And it's a slog. It's fucking 17 hours long, that book or something.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like you watch these 2 things, you invest your time into it, and you're just like, I don't want to know any more about these people now, which is bad because I know a lot of the Magia people are mad about Adi Da and his teachings.
Yeah, like,
and
big
I'm
time,
like,
big time. Yeah.
And now I'm like, nah, not doing it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, because even like there's so much footage of his lectures, like so much, and he's really funny, and and there's this all that, and it's most of the footage in this documentary is old man Adida, just kind of this frail Jesus-like figure going around. You might see the one where the kids come up and crying and stuff. You just kind of go, it's fine, but it's like
he was hugging that boy for a bit too long, wasn't he? Come on, man, let go.
Or the guy in the wheelchair.
The dad is there and he's holding his hands, like crying with joy. I'd be like, get your fucking hands off my fucking kid. Swear to God.
But you see, they're all enamoured by him. Like, he's the divine.
No, you don't need to hug anyone for longer than 3 seconds. You don't. You know what I mean? Well, unless you're going to put something in God. Even God has a boundary as well, man, because we're all actually part of God and God is all a part of us. So by hugging something else, you can say, okay, that's also God, but God's within me and within all of us. So I don't really need to hug you for this long. Also, I'm getting a little bit of a boner. So it's getting awkward, all right?
Because God's a woman. Really good looking. Yeah, no,
maybe not.
Or maybe not. No, I know. It's a nonsense documentary. It's a waste of time.
It's very bad that it's like,
because you learn nothing from it at all. You don't learn anything about what he believes in, what he thinks about.
You do and you don't, but it's not. But it's nothing that you haven't heard before from any yogi. Do you know? It really isn't, and it's so weird that they put it out, and they must have put it out, and they're thinking like this is going to get loads of people into Adida and buying his books and into his stuff, and it's like, no, this is bad. This is.
Do you notice an awful lot of his followers talk in the same kind of cadence and accent as he does?
Yeah.
Like a very peculiar. Like I was watching a thing on YouTube, and it's about introducing Adida, and it's from his company, and I was going, how is Adida narrating this? Because he's dead and he's talking about him being dead. I go, oh no, it's someone. Oh no, that's weird. And it's like it's someone not even trying to do an impression, but someone who's obviously spent far too much time listening to. Like even the women, like that main woman who talks in the documentary, whatever her name is, she says some words every now and again. You go, that's that's his accent. That's his.
Yeah. But this is the thing. Like Alan Chapman speaks about this in the year anniversary of Majid talking. He's like, and Young, you were telling me last night how Young kind of saw himself as a bit of a failure at the end because his students weren't getting it. They were copying him rather than getting it. And Chapman, he predicts about what could happen with Majid is that people won't follow this properly. They'll just parrot what I say instead of learning
and get it wrong.
And you can see it already, man. You know what I mean? You can see it on the Discord. There's a bit of a fan club there, and it's like, okay, and that's why I am standoffish with him. I haven't spoken to him, and I probably won't, because I'm just like, I don't know. It's just I kind of like, but I'm like this with everyone. I just like, I don't. We're all just men. We're all just women. We're all just people. We're all the fucking same. Like, you know what I mean? There's no. I don't really get hero worship or anything. But anyway, that's the difference.
And also, just to point out, neither is Alan Chapman. That's not something he's courting.
Of course. No, it's not. It's not.
Even to the point of there's a whole.
But you can
talk
see
about
this,
it.
You can see this in the Adida thing. They're just parroting him because they think that if they copy someone, then they'll. And it's the same with the Jungians. They copied Jung rather than learning his stuff properly.
Well, it's that thing of when people get into Thelema or anything, any kind of thing, where they start writing like Aleister Crowley, on Facebook. They go, what are you on about? You go, like, just talk like a normal person, But it's the same thing. It's like them starting to talk like Adida, or if like whatever it is. It's a very odd thing, and it is just. It's more than just parroting, because you're not literally using the words the other person is. You're taking their style or presentation or their authority. That's what it is. Yeah. And presenting your own nonsense under the guise of it being from an authority, because I talk like Aleister Crowley. Or I write like Aleister Crowley, or whatever.
But you look, it's not always a bad thing, because like you can go back to that example we spoke before about Hunter Thompson copying out The Great Gatsby because he wanted to get the feel for it, But that's different. He went into it knowing he wanted to get the feel of it. He didn't want to copy F. Scott Fitzgerald. He wanted to go through what F. Scott Fitzgerald was going through while writing it, So that kind of trying to channel him, in a woo-woo sense kind of thing.
The thing, I suppose, the NLP thing of you model someone, you look at someone that you want and you kind of take it, but it's not doing an impression of them. It's not doing the tribute band version of them. You're not.
I could look like Addy Dada. If I put on a couple of stone again, grow my balding hair long at the back. And
call yourself the Addy Dadas or something. Sunday night music by the Addy Dadas.
But for me, it was this weird thing in the documentary, in that he was teaching people. This is what I heard anyway. Maybe I got arse raised, but he was teaching people that. No, sorry. He was teaching people that the divine is in all of us, and we can achieve it. And he's trying to teach people how to achieve it. How then did he go from that to them worshipping him as the divine? That's where I'm a little bit confused.
Yeah, I've combustion around that as well. But I think, and I'm not saying it's right, and I'm not saying is that if he is an unadulterated version of it, that then you're seeing it as rather than adoration of him as Franklin Jones, you're adoring him as God. Being an aspect of God, an unadulterated thing of God, I think.
But if he's already taught you that, okay, the divine is within all of us and reachable by all of us.
Yeah, but do you know that? Do you actually know that to be true? Because it's the point where you know it to be true, then in the Margia three things, it dissolves, and it's one is found in the other, blah blah blah. But until that point,
but I'm fairly sure that's what he was teaching, though.
I think so. Yeah.
So then why were they worshipping like a god if he's saying no, I'm not the god. We all are the god. We can all get to the god.
Yeah, no, I agree. I
strange.
That's one of the things I find
it.
That's which points to cult.
Because he started off really well when he had the first kind of communes in America. I suppose you have to call them communes. They looked really cool because he started teaching formally. He'd be on the pedestal above people, cross-legged, giving his sermons, and he went, "No, you know what? This is bollocks. I got to get in with the people, And he would go and live among them and help them with practical work, and he'd sit and drink with them, have the crack with them, probably fucked a load of women. Took a load of drugs. It looked like that kind of a place, to be honest, and it looked like great crack, But he was down among the people, and I thought, okay, that's really cool, because you see a lot of the spiritual lads, and they are up above them, and they just sit there in the enlightenment, and they get questions fielded at them, and they always come back with the other side of the brain answer rather than the normal answer, and it's just like, okay, no, he did this differently. He went out into the people and became one of the people, and then something. There's a lot. There's no objectivity to the fucking documentary, do you know?
At all.
It's the opposite,
There's literally no dissenting voices or even a hint of anything, it's it's a puff piece. That's correct. The correct thing, really, yeah.
Disappointment. Had you watched it before?
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago I watched it. I only got a couple of weeks ago. I think
it's only 2 years old or something.
Yeah,
2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah.
Strange.
I'd like to see a good documentary.
I think it's going to do more harm than good on his legacy. Do you know?
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. Has he a good legacy? Other than I really don't.
I don't know. I can't. I don't know anything about him. I didn't know anything about him until a couple of weeks ago.
Other than Alan Chapman has points him out, I would not be spending any time.
Why does he point him out?
Because he sees him as a lineage ancestor, as someone who was doing a similar thing to what he's doing. That it was Crowley, Adida, Manny, Empedocles, Parmenides, Kingsley. That it's all part of the.
Is Jung in that? Is Steiner in that?
Young is, don't know Steiner. I don't know.
Fingers crossed. Oh, Alan, please like me. Please like me. Oh.
As he points out, it's the appropriate ancestor at the appropriate time. If you start trying to make a list, then what you're doing is making it that it's more about exclusion than including, because you're saying who isn't. Really, essentially, that's what a list is.
Yeah, I suppose.
And it's like Stuart Wilde for me is definitely a lineage ancestor. He's no ways that Alan Chapman would think so, but it doesn't take that away. It fits in my thing.
It's like my hard on for Steiner. I don't think you have much time for Steiner, but I think
I know I do have a lot of time for Steiner. I just don't understand him. I can't read his books at all.
Yeah, no,
they don't make any sense.
Impossible.
And I've never found a good book about him, but you found another documentary, didn't you, and stuff?
Yeah, I need to watch it. It doesn't get good reviews. They're like the reviews are so bad on it that the director of the film makes a comment back against it. It's like, oh, that's not a good sign. This has to be dog shit. So I'm going to clear an hour and a half during the week and watch it and just get the popcorn. I don't have high hopes for it, but I found that there's his main book that he said, like, this is me, this is my opus dei. Please read this one. But there's two versions of it. There's a 1916 version, and then there's a revised version from 1918. And the revised version was when he went back to it after he kind of came out as a theosophist, occultist, and all that. So that's the one you're supposed to go with. So I think I got like the last one on Amazon.de. It was like €6. I'm like, yes, a cheap book, finally. Fucking occult books cost a fortune. So yeah, that'll be here on Wednesday or Thursday. So I'm looking forward to getting into that because this is the one. He's like, if all of my other books, he said something like, I could destroy all of my other books and give them up, but this is the one that I wouldn't want that to happen to,
Right.
So
Conor, are you aware of Conor Habib? Do you know him?
No, only the name from you.
Yeah, he's big on Steiner. Like, I mean, so there might be an avenue through him that you might find, I don't know, a gateway into his books. He says, like, when you read them, and then
problem with it is that he's just a very boring writer. He's a really, really boring writer.
But he writes in that kind of weird
academic, boring. Yeah, it is boring. It's really boring. His books,
the books are inscribed though, audiobooks. I haven't tried that. That might be an end, and it might be easier.
But they're the same guy on YouTube who has I think it's the Rudolf Steiner Foundation or some weird name like that, and he reads them all.
All right.
He's just as boring.
Okay.
All these books are on copyright. Maybe I should just fucking take the mantle and just be like, yeah, I'll make these exciting. Yeah. And the body and the spirit and the
bees on Mars.
I'm so bored, Rudolph.
Get to the bees on Mars. Come on.
Bees and Buddha. But did Buddha go to Mars or did Buddha come from Mars? I don't remember. It's one or the other. It's like, I know
there was a huge debate in Theosophy at one point where someone was told that they would be the next Buddha on Mars, and then a couple of years later someone else was told it, and it was they weren't happy.
But yeah, the whole Theosophy is mad. Like, what's his name? Krishna? What's his name?
Who?
They thought he was going to be the next Jesus.
Oh, Krishnamurti.
Krishnamurti.
Until
and then he's like, nah, good luck, I'm out of here.
No, and not even that. He dissolves Theosophy to the entire society. I'm not Jesus.
But he went on to do proper teaching and get people to enlighten.
But he wouldn't let his students read anything spiritual though, or think about any of it or anything like that. They only were allowed to read like detective novels, according to Alan Watts. That's according to Alan Watts. Yeah, just because you're going to get it wrong. Stop it. Don't be obsessed about it. Yeah.
Do you remember there's a chapter in the final Buddha Baptist Head book? The last one's Blood what's the last one?
Desert of Roses.
There's a chapter about the people doing the seances, and I don't even have to piece it all together now because I can't. There's too many people involved in it. There was this thing in the 1920s where they did seances.
Okay.
And then the people who did the seances, when they to kind of prove that there's something after this life, and so they realized, well, holy shit, like if we're doing seances, like when we're dead, then we should get mediums to try and talk to us,
right?
Because we'll be able to prove that it's real. And so then all this like weird shit happens after they die. Like one of them professes his love for one of the mediums who he'd only met once or twice. And then there's all these other mediums around the world who start getting in contact with the society, and they're like, yeah, I'm getting some weird shit here. Has this got anything to do with you? And they're all like, we didn't tell anyone, but yeah, this is exactly what was supposed to happen.
Oh, right.
And it's mental, so it is. And there's connections with the British Prime Minister at the time. He wasn't involved, but he kind of knew about it, or was related to someone who was doing it. And it's bizarre, man. You're reading, it's just going, this is fucking
right. I have no recollection of that at all, and I've read that book a number of times. The school experiments as well. I'm looking at my bookshelf. Gordon Whitehall was going on about that.
I think that's the result of this, was it?
Right. Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
He sees that as a good evidence. David Halpin, a friend from a cult book thing. Yeah, he has no time for it. No.
Yeah.
Absolutely shoddy. It's absolutely to the point where I got the book and then I seen David Halpin going, and I went, yeah, I'm not reading that book. I don't trust David Halpin, to be honest.
No, I would too. In fairness, it's really good. I'd love to see him doing more videos, but sure, you know yourself.
Yeah,
that's work.
Such is life.
You know?
He keeps doing the website though, the Myths one, the Irish Myths one, whatever that's called.
Yeah. See, he puts up stories on Facebook once a week or something.
Circle Stories, that's it. No, that is.
It's the one. Yeah, Circle Stories. That's the one. Yeah, check it out. I don't know. I'm just a bit let down now by Adidas because I thought this would be another thing to look into and dive into, you know. But
well, I did send you that Yogananda one.
Yeah.
That's a much better documentary. That's
Right.
pretty good.
Yeah.
And he's an interesting dude.
Is he still alive? Yeah.
No, he's dead.
No, he's dead.
It's early, like he's born the 1800s, something like that. But
okay.
it's a well done. Well, I seen it a while ago when it came out, and I enjoyed it and thought it was a well done documentary. When I watch it again, I might have a different thing. But he's a very interesting guy, and some very interesting experiences. And I think that would be what you were looking for in the Adidas one. You might find in that.
Yeah.
That's.
I was just thought, okay, this is going to be about Adidas. It's going to be all about his teachings and stuff. And then, like, there's this mad bit in it where it's like, oh yeah, and then they decided to move operations to Fiji because he was given the island. I have questions. What? Yeah. You know, all of a sudden they're setting up camp in fucking Fiji, and it's like, so who gave him the island? Why did this person leave him the island?
Why did he have to get off mainland America?
Yeah. It seems like you left in a fucking hurry there, lads. What? It's just bizarre and nothing's explained, and it's just like, it's a Scientology video, basically.
Yeah, it's level of. That's what I mean. It's exactly like a documentary Scientology would make about Scientology. You know, that kind of.
Jesus, anyone
for
watching it.
Scientologists.
Yeah.
So I think it's for people who are already into Adidas. It's not aiming to convert anyone. This is for the believers.
Yeah. This is for the believers. But
yeah.
Like, Jesus, if you had any bit of critical thinking at all, you'd be like, yeah, there's definitely scenes missing here, at least.
Yeah.
You know, it's bizarre. Oh, well, whatever. Then again, someone comes, so you know, you're running a production company, and they're like, "Yeah, look, we have this religion thing. Do you want to make a video about it?" Yeah. Cool,
no,
yeah.
I think this is that it's a Kickstarter job. I think that's a self-funded documentary. I don't think it's a.
So what are they now? Is it a religion? Is it not like part of, I don't know, Buddhism or Hindu? No, it's not Hinduism.
No, it's its own thing. Yeah, there's a foundation and stuff like that, like in any number of websites related to it. As far as I know, yeah, it's not. It's like he wasn't in the way like say Alan Watts was talking about Hinduism and Buddhism, but there's no Alan Wattsism. You know, there's definitely Adidaism. You know, it's his kind of teaching, his kind of philosophy and stuff. And by all accounts, and I have to say this, taking out the personality, taking out the dodgy documentary, he seems to have people who I trust in this have a lot of time for him. Yeah. So I'm not going to fully discount him. He definitely wouldn't have been someone I would have looked at had not he been pointed out. You know, I just would have been. No thanks.
Yeah,
you know, it just looks like a cult. Looks exactly the same as the Osho, or you know,
it looks like a fish and talks like a fish.
I know, but you know what I mean? And Ken Wilber as well has an awful lot of time for him, and he, you know, I have a lot of time for Ken Wilber.
But sure, look, it's probably like the Crowley thing. Crowley wasn't a great person for most of his life, but you know, quite good on the spirituality stuff, and having sex with men in the desert apparently.
Oh, but he wasn't into that. He was just doing it because it was a taboo. He was doing the left hand pat, man. He was just going through. Yeah, just poor Victor Neuburg. Poor man.
Isn't it odd?
He was never the same. He was never the same.
It's a mad that like to think that like the people who lived in like Victorian times, there were so many taboos, but obviously it pushed people to really turn against the taboo. Like there's this story that like James Joyce is supposed to have watched Molly take a shit on the kitchen table. Do you know? Nice. And like even Joycean scholars, for some reason Joycean people are called Joycean scholars. I don't know why. Joycean nerds.
Yeah.
Even in them, it's kind of like, yeah, it probably happened.
Well, that's the thing about the taboo, in that the thing that gets Crowley in a lot of trouble is where he talks about, you know, sacrificing, you know, all the kids. As you know, all the babies and all this kind of stuff, and it's because at that time you were allowed to say that rather than say have a wank.
Yeah.
So the code was sacrifice babies, and like the blind is because the taboo is you can talk about killing babies. It's like Facebook, you can show people being burned alive, whatever. Don't show a nipple. It's exactly, we still have the same taboo. It hasn't changed.
Okay, so basically, next week's Homer Spud is to delve into as many nipples as I can.
Yeah.
Ooh, nice. I'm going to have a busy week.
You're on holidays now, aren't you, for the next while? Is it this?
I'm not on holidays. I'm on a building site. You mad bastard.
Holidays. So you're taking it easy for the next 2 weeks.
Nipples. I don't only my father-in-law's nipples. Oh my God. Oh, feast upon thee, oh hairy beast. Apotamotamus cotabotamus.
Very on.
Bye, Tommy.
Nice.